Hello and welcome to a fresh new edition of Trading Hour. I'm Prashant Nair. With me, my colleague Ekta Batra. This is a Thursday morning and the market is showing signs of life. It's showing that there is some life left in it and it can bounce back, given a chance. The bounce back, though, isn't a big one. And it has already been sold into a little bit. We're off about, 20 points from the highs. 11,534 is where the Nifty 50 is trading at right now. Bank Nifty has got about 0.25% odd gains. And I think the story is pretty similar there as well. We're off the highs on the Nifty Bank as well. Globally overnight was a pretty decent session, except that big surge in oil prices, which is showing up in a couple of oil-sensitive sectors here. But otherwise, equities did just fine, and globally as well, in terms of other equities in the region, things aren't looking all that bad. Ekta, morning.
Hi, Prashant. Yes, absolutely. So the markets are actually gaining in line with what we are seeing with the global markets, and we seem to be not too worried about the Brent crude prices and the kind of 4% gain that we saw overnight. But in terms of stocks continue to be the key theme in today's trading session as well. So, for example, Interglobe, we're seeing that kind of profit booking coming into Interglobe this morning, and it's been really rocky. An intraday chart will tell you the kind of volatility that we've seen for the Interglobe stock in today's trade itself, now down around 5.6%. So some concerns coming in there. And separately, JSW Steel, Hindalco, a lot of the metal stocks gaining on account of hopes that the Fed would cut rates further. So though all of those stocks in focus, TechM, TCS, Infosys, a little bit of profit booking coming in on the IT space. In fact, TCS lower for the second day in a row post numbers, something like an Aurobindo in focus as well. But we're going to be talking a little more about Interglobe, and we're going to be talking a little more about why the stock is down another 5%. What is the market thinking with regards to what the next steps could be between the promoters as well? So I think that would be important to track in terms of news. But anything else, Prashant, that you're looking at this point?
Actually just a bit on Interglobe. I saw that, at one point Interglobe was down almost 9%, Ekta. So it's already seen a fair bit of recovery from the lowest point in trade, which, by the way, was basically, it had touched the lows it made yesterday. Yesterday, remember, it was down 20% at one point. It recovered 10% by close, and it was down 10 at 3:30. And today, it kind of went back to the lows yesterday, and from there, it has started to pull back once again. So we obviously know the story and the public spat which has been brought to the fore once again with the letters being exchanged. But I think at some level the market is wanting to believe that this spat between promoters will not impact operations, and of course then there is the matter of the first quarter earnings. Just going by what we saw in Q1, all of Q1 in terms of passenger load factors, the absence of jet, and generally a pretty decent, oil prices not being too high. First quarter numbers actually should be pretty strong for aviation companies in general and Interglobe specifically. It reaps the most reward in situations like this. It's happened in the past. So at some level, I think the market wants to believe that, it'll sail through this. But the point is, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon that we can say, well, the matter's been put behind. Let's stick to this and focus on the spat and how this is sort of starting to move forward. Sonia is standing by with what she's picking up and gathering on that big story. Sonia.
Thanks a lot for that. Well, there are reports suggesting that, the shareholder pact could be checked by the government for violations. The agreement between Gangwal and Bhatia could be annulled if it is found to violate the shareholders or the Companies Act rather. And corporate lawyers say that the governance and shareholder disputes are two distinct matters. Now, CNBC-TV18 understands that the Civil Aviation Ministry has not yet sought any response from the Indigo promoters. We are still trying to verify if the Ministry of Corporate Affairs is looking into the issue. But now what we learn is that SEBI has called the company secretary of Indigo for a meeting and has asked for a response by Indigo by the 19th of July. So remember, if there is, if this agreement between Gangwal and Bhatia is annulled, because of violation of the Companies Act, then a fresh set of problems could emerge for the company as well as the stock. In fact, we've seen it in the stock as well. There was big delivery-based selling that we saw yesterday, about 400 crores of delivery selling. So that's the reason, on top of the 10% fall yesterday, there's been an incremental 10% fall today as well.
Okay, all right, Sonia, thanks very much for that. So, source-based information coming in that SEBI has indeed called the Indigo company secretary for a meeting and a response by July 19th from Interglobe as well. But the other stock on our radar is DHFL. We understand from sources that the company will present its resolution proposal to lenders today. Ritu Singh is here with details on what we can expect. Ritu.
SBI Caps, which is acting as the advisor to the lenders of DHFL, has called for a meeting of all the stakeholders today and will be conducting exploratory talks to seek their views on the resolution for the company. Now, this even as DHFL is set to present its own proposal to the lenders later this evening. Now, we understand that DHFL is likely to propose September 25th as the long stop date for reaching an agreement with a private equity investor for a potential stake sale in the company and also finalize the debt restructuring proposal. Now, DHFL is currently understood to be in talks with 4 private equity players, but Aeon Capital and Cerberus Capital are seen as front runners to acquire stake, and through this deal, DHFL expects to raise as much as 7,000 crore rupees. Now, these potential investors, meanwhile, have also sought the comfort from the bankers as well that they will continue funding DHFL even after the deal is executed. Now, we're also given to understand that the promoters do not want their stake to fall below 20 to 25% from the 40% that is currently held. Now, in its resolution proposal, we also understand that DHFL will seek extension of the repayment tenure as part of the restructuring plan and also some moratorium or a new line of credit from banks. It is likely to ask for fresh loans to the tune of 1,200 to 1,500 crore rupees per month for a period of 1 year. And if banks do agree to provide any additional loan, then DHFL will propose to repay them via securitization at a later date. Now, this is, of course, what DHFL has sought. The final resolution plan, of course, would require the consent of all the stakeholders involved.
Okay, Ritu, thank you very much for that. So, I mean, we sort of kept you on top of that story, and we promised to get you more when we have details of what comes out of that meet. We also have Anisha joining in with a list of more stocks which have got news flow and which are moving around. Anisha, morning.
Hi Prashant, very good morning. Well, let me start with a couple of pharma names because, for example, Aurobindo is trading higher because the company has launched Sensipar generic in the US market. Remember, this drug is used for chronic kidney diseases, so that stock is in focus. Glenmark too is in focus because they've signed a non-exclusive sub-licensing agreement with Torrent, and this is to co-market a diabetes drug in India, and that is also a bit of positive. A couple of result reactions, and these two stocks are moving higher as well. Case in point being HFCL, wherein the revenue is up around 23%, the profits have more than doubled, and that is because the margins have expanded by 600 basis points. The management says that this performance could be sustainable going forward, and that should be good news. Moving on to GTPL Hathway, wherein the revenue growth was 12% quarter-on-quarter, 29% year-on-year, but the profit growth is quite interesting because the profit has come in at 27 crores versus 13 crore last year. Even if you look at the other internals in terms of the customer data as well as the balance sheet, that has improved year on year, and that should augur good news as well. Lastly, keep an eye on Cox & Kings. That one continues to be under pressure. That is because the company has defaulted yet again, and this time this is for a payment of 125 crores with respect to the commercial papers. Remember, Care 2 has cut the rating on these NCDs to D already, so that stock continues to be in the red. Back to you.